So what exactly drives a collector? What fuels the passion? Is it a whim, an eccentricity, a personal preference? I guess the answer is different for all of us. I remember back in 1999 or early 2000 reading in the British N64 magazine that there was an upcoming expansion set for the N64 console, dubbed the 64DD. At the time it seemed like a cool idea, and for one reason or the other it never reached European and or American shores. Even in Japan it only came out in very limited quantities. I remember I once applied for a part-time job at Nintendo of Belgium, the Belgian Nintendo branch, and there was a sort of an intake conversation, an intake talk. And the lady, the HR lady, asked me, well, do you like Nintendo? Do you like the brand? I said, yeah, I even have the N64DD. And she said, well, I've never heard of that. And she's working for Nintendo. So yeah, it is quite obscure. For years, I've tried to pick it up or get it or buy it. But as stated, it is quite rare, even in Japan. So it wasn't exactly easy to find. But lo and behold, 2 years ago, I managed to pick up my very own holy grail to the N64 library, the 64DD. Yeah, so included is a, I'm holding it upside down. So yeah, included is a modem, the 64DD itself, a RAN net disk, which is needed to serve the internet, and a modular cable. Yeah, all the info is in Japanese, so you'll have to navigate a little through the contents, but eventually you'll be able to, figure everything out. I haven't been able to connect it to the internet, of course, because the RAN net server has long died down, but the console itself is quite interesting. Now, as for the games, there's not a lot of software. Well, you could say it's one of the easiest consoles to collect for, to go for a full set. But some titles fetch a huge amount of money. There's one Derby Stallion game that goes upwards of $2,000. I think the best or the main attraction is the F-Zero expansion kit, which allows you to, make your own tracks in the F-Zero N64 game. Haven't been able to pick that one up. Yeah, also a 300 title game. But I did manage to collect SimCity 64 and Mario Artist. This is one of 3, and this one comes with the official N64 mouse. It's quite cute. Sadly, this disc doesn't work anymore because it is a magnetic disc, sort of like a floppy disk back in the day. It's prone to, failure or shutdown. So even if I try to play it in my 64DD, it won't boot up. Yeah, that's $75 wasted. But the SimCity 64 disc, which I got thanks to my good friend Thomas from 16-Bit Gym, well, this one does work just fine. I'll show you the contents. So you have a all in Japanese manual, and here is the disc itself. It's actually quite cutesy because for years I only saw it in pictures and I imagined it to be, a little bigger. In my mind it was like this huge sort of floppy, like the real floppy, the floppy. But it's actually, it's quite cutesy. It's like a 10 by 10 centimeter thingy. There's a hatch, of course. That allows you to read the contents. It's, as you can see, it's really a magnetic disc. It is just as you'd expect, and it's also thinner than you would think. It's a mere centimeter thickness. Yeah, it's really quite sturdy and quite cute. I like this. So sad thing is that the game is all in Japanese, so yeah, I can just show you some clips, but gameplay wise I'm none the wiser. It's a weird sentence. So as far as the 64DD goes, does it live up to my expectations? Well, of course not. I mean, from 1999 up until 2020, that's 21 years, an adult's life, I've been looking forward to finally owning a 64DD, to be able to put it under my 64 console. Oh, by the way, I had to pick up a Japanese N64 because, of course, it won't work with your PAL or American console. But just the thrill of finally booting up your N64 and hearing the very pleasant noise of the 64DD, by the way, which runs entirely off the 64 power plug mains, which is impressive in and of itself. If you remember the 32X for the Sega Mega Drive, or the Sega CD for the Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis if you live in America, both expansions needed their own plug, their own power cord. This 64DD expansion runs entirely off the 64 main power. That's great engineering, guys. Well done, Japanese chaps. Japanese? Yeah, in all, I still really like the 64DD. Someday perhaps I'll own the entire library, but as of now, it's a faraway dream, super expensive, but a very cool piece of kit. Could have been great, could have reached our shores, but as it is today, a very peculiar piece of hardware and quite obscure.